The rise of low-code, no-code development platform is reshaping how we think about building applications. These platforms are marketing for their ease of use, emphasizing that even those without coding expertise can quickly create applications. This approach to app development is increasingly popular because it democratizes the process, making it accessible to a broader audience. And it's with you, everyone can develop an idea to app that's in your hands with these low code, no code development platforms.
Welcome to the OTech Talks podcast, where it's all about working on technologies. You will hear the latest tech information, and your host, Kashif Manzoor, brings together product overviews, how-tos, best practices, tips and tricks, and troubleshooting techniques.
Welcome to today's podcast, OpenTechTalks.tv. Today, session number 125. And thank you so much for being a listener. I'm humbled and really pleased to have you all listening my podcast. As I'm recording 125th episode with a new guest speaker. But before we will invite our guest speaker, I just wanted to share some insights from my side on the low-code, no-code development platform. As one of the key advantages of low-code platforms is their ability to empower people like you, me, or any other one who don't want to have an expertise or hands-on experience on coding. So it's empowering you with little to no programming knowledge. They can now bring new projects to life or develop fresh ideas independently. Traditionally, creating an application involved relying ideas to a programmer or a developer or a coder. You need to hire them or you need to pass your messages to them, who would then try to translate these messages, concepts, ideas into a functional product. This process could be time consuming and often result in a product that might not fully align with the original vision, the way you are thinking about it. And sometimes I also feel it the same way. However, with the low code and no code platforms, these dynamics have changed. Individuals can now take control of the development process, building and adjusting their applications as they can see it. This hands-on approach allows for a more accurate realization of your vision and fosters innovation by removing technical barriers. I'm not denying the fact of the programmers or coders, they are the expert. So we're not against them. We are talking about how another area which is helping the traditional way of development to a new way of development, where if someone is not having an expertise, he can also work and use these tools to develop something. No doubt all the enterprise applications, the behind unsung heroes are the coders, are the developers and programmers and architects and whoever work in the technology industry. We all understand. And being a part of this ecosystem, I am also very well aware about that. So I'm just trying to bring a new way of developing it, and that's where the interest is there from the large population. As the simplicity of these platforms lies with the user-friendly interfaces, which often involve drag and drop functionalities and easy to navigate design elements. This means that making an app doesn't require writing a line of code. Instead, it's about visually constructing the application piece by piece, like building a model using a kit. And with the over time, these platforms are also evolving. So if we summarize today's discussion, low code and no code platforms are not just a trend, they represent a fundamental shift in the digital landscape. They're opening doors for creative minds to develop their digital solutions without the bottleneck of needing advanced coding skills. Welcome to OpenTechTalks.tv. And today we have a guest speaker, Dan Hafner. And the most important thing is he's calling us apps guy. That where he started like building an apps, either maybe knowing it code or not code or how he has done it. Let's hear from Dan his story. And I'm also being a technology guy, passionate to learn from him. I want to build some apps, SaaS nowadays, targeting niche areas. So Dan, welcome to the show. If you
Hey,
can
thanks for having me.
introduce.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate coming on. So yeah, just kind of like you mentioned. So it's also I did not go down the coding path. So a lot of times people ask me, like, how do you build apps without knowing code? And this answer is simple. It's called no code or low code technologies, which you may or may not have heard of if you're a listener to the show. It's a really cool way to build SaaS and software and apps and all kinds of stuff, because one, you don't need to know how to code, like I never knew how. And then you don't need a whole lot of money to get started. There's a lot of platforms out there that you can start building for free even. There's now a growing market of or offering of people who are kind of like me, who can build these things in those types of platforms already and stuff. So it's really cool. You kind of can build whatever your heart desires, really. Now with like AI coming in and doing all kinds of stuff like that, there's so many cool things. You can do it faster and cheaper than ever before. And that's kind of how I got started in it too.
All right, great. So let's walk us through how did you start it?
Yeah, good question. So it kind of all starts with my wife. She's in the medical field. So we started dating in college, and then she moved to medical school, and then residency and fellowship and a job and all this stuff. And it's all been all over the place. So it got kind of hard to hold down a steady job for doing that, because we moved every 3 years. So I always I got this bug to start a business and have my own thing. And right around that time, I had an app idea. I was trying to lose weight. I was trying to get in shape and be more healthy. And I couldn't quite find the thing that worked for me. And I was like, hey, entrepreneurial kind of bug got lit. And I was like, well, I should build my own. So then I ran into a problem of like, well, I've never done anything like that. How do I code? So I started to try to learn to code. Turned out to not be my cup of tea at all, because it was like I took a couple of courses and I was like, oh man, I can't do this. More power to you if you can. I cannot get into it. So then I was like, well, I'll hire some people. And then I, reached out to some agencies, Upwork, developers, all that type of stuff. Got quotes that were insanely high, just like through the roof high, $100,000, $200,000, those types of things. So then one thing led to another, went down the rabbit hole of like, there's actually these software platforms out there where you can build this kind of stuff without having to do that. So lo and behold, tried, all kinds of different ones. Found out some were better than others. Some did the features I wanted, some didn't, those types of things. Probably built that thing 20 or 30 times before I finally found the platform that I wanted to do it on, and then launched it. And then, kind of learned, okay, now how do I market this thing? How do I sell this thing? I have this cool thing. What do I do with it? So learned kind of, taught myself all those types of things around how to market, how to get ASO, how to do selling in-app purchases, all those types of things. So everything I've done, it's been self-taught. It's been just kind of out of that. And then, kind of as I got into, that skill set, learned, okay, I could build this for people, and people started approaching me for that. So then I built a skill set for myself, and then I had that skill set on top of the other app business that I had already had. So then I kind of had this dual pronged approach of like, wow, I can build apps for myself and software for myself, but also for other people, and charge good money. So, so that was kind of the overall path that it took.
So now what are you doing? You're helping others to develop for them, and you're also running your own apps.
Yes, correct. I actually, I have not. I'm getting ready to launch my own. I actually haven't had my own in quite a while, because I've just been so busy building for other people. I retired that first app that I did, and just kind of it wasn't for me anymore. But I'm getting ready to go into a whole new field of another one starting in 2024. So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of both now, getting back into having my own SaaS and my own software too. So
okay, so maybe if we ask, you mentioned that you're helping others to develop it. Is it some proprietary platform like no code, low code, or is it open? I mean, if I am, and I'm I don't know about the coding, and so where I should start?
It's a good question, because I used to try to, once I realized this, like there would be people that come to me and say, hey, I got this idea for something. And all I knew at the time was like one or two platforms that I knew I was good at, and I tried to fit it into that box, right? And that was a mistake. That was not something that was good. So eventually started to branch out and learn more of these types of platforms. So really now I try to really understand. I've learned this through my own business experiences, like really understand, like, what are you trying to build? And, what's the real problem? Who's the real person you're solving this for? What's the real value you're providing? And then you go and you find the platform that's probably best for, There are some that people just come to me and they just want like a content, an e-commerce, and that's very simple. You can use Shopify, there's other ones that you can just link Shopify with, and you can do content-based apps, and that's all you need. And that's fine. Now, if you want something that has to do more with AI and updates, and there's more database stuff and all these different things, that's not gonna work in certain platforms. So you need to have specific ones. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of the process of it, is really understanding, okay, what are you trying to build first, and then we'll match that to the platform that you're looking to do.
Okay. And this expertise, you are helping others as a product or as a service, or how? You got expertise, right? Now, how you're helping people?
Yeah. So it's almost a consulting journey, right?
Consulting journey. Okay.
It's really okay. What are you trying? There's two buckets of people come either with half-baked ideas, or they come with a very, very specific idea, and they already have wireframes. They already have something they're like, I know I want to build. So really, in both of those scenarios, you can kind of go through and be like, okay, let's think with the end in mind. Let's think, how are we going to monetize this? How are we going to sell it? How are you eventually going to build a real business around this? And then kind of reverse engineering to be like, okay, well, these are probably, the features that you want to solve or to use to solve the problems. These are the kind of the systems that you might want to have in place. Like when someone signs up, you probably want to take them through an onboarding sequence of this, and then they go into this feature, and then they, those types of things. So it's kind of a hand-holding consulting type of, service and path that we kind of go through, because everyone's is different. It's not just a one size cookie cutter all fits all thing,
Yeah. So I think as for audience who are listening, I think let me give you a scenario so that whoever is listening, he can get some tips or insights from you, so that it can helpful to them. Take an example, and I will give you a personal example. My brother, he's doing business in this selling birthday cakes and these customized cakes. And the way you said, he started e-commerce with WooCommerce, right?
Okay.
Right. Now he has a challenge, and he keep coming to me. I'm for him is a tech guy or IT guy, right?
Right.
So he keep coming to me, and then okay, I have an e-commerce. Now I want to build some software, some app which solve my backend, taking order, giving to kitchen, managing order, delivering, customer relationship, and all that. And I keep pushing him to some open source package in the market. Go use this one, use Go X, Go Y. And he keep coming every 6 months back to me. No, this is not meeting requirement. This is having so many extra requirement. I don't need it. I'm very small. So now, I just give an example so that you can share some tips for this is one scenario. So if someone in that mindset, where he should be starting, maybe give some tools names, or I know you're doing for consulting as paid, but how can we give some insights which can help them?
Yeah. So when you're looking for something like that, I was actually just talking with an old client of mine who's kind of thinking about doing the same type of thing inside of a like a hockey goalie coaching type of business for that kind of stuff. So exactly the same type of thing. Well, not as cakes, obviously, but he was going to a specific solution that's out there that says, hey, you can put all your stuff inside of here, and you can do all these types of things. But he also said, hey, there's no texting reminders. I can't link my own payment stuff. I can't do these other things, even though it has all these other cool things.
Right.
There's specific solutions that you want and you need to have that don't fit the cake, right? So fit the cake. There you go. Look at that little. I slipped that in there. So really, what I would say to someone like that is, you could probably get by on some kind of simple templatized software, something simple that's largely kind of pre-built. There's one out there that I really like. I'm actually a reseller for them, so I'm actually like an expert kind of in their software, and I built a lot of apps for it. It's called Good Barber. So it's a big one. It's out there. It's really, really cool. They're based somewhere in Europe, I believe. But they're very, very advanced. They have a lot of really cool things, and you can get started with a lot of templates like for e-commerce, for those types of shopping apps and things like that. So you can do cashless orders where people just pay cash on delivery. You can do local delivery. You can do shipping across the United States. I mean, you probably can't ship a cake across the United States, but if it was something like a t-shirt or something like that, you could do. So those types of solutions work really, really well. There's another one out there, I believe, that's called Buildfire. I used to, that was actually where my first app was built in. That, they have a lot of templates, a lot of things like that you can just, because for someone like that, you're looking like, you don't need to build Rome. You know what I mean? You're looking to just solve a solution. So those templates can actually be very, very useful and get you off the ground and get you going quickly. Yeah.
Okay. And if someone is starting and is having an idea that I want to build some SaaS product targeting some niche area. So what is a rule of thumb for him based on your experience?
Yeah. Well, again, if you're thinking about using a no-code software, if that's an option that you're open to entertaining, some of the best ones I found for that, there's more advanced ones, like one's called bubble.io you can go to. One that I really like and that I've been using a lot more is called Adalo, which is pretty neat. Adalo, Adalo. That's really, really cool. And I believe there's another one. I'm not as experienced with it. I'm trying to learn more about it. Again, there's always new software that pops up there.
Yeah.
Actually, there's two. There's one, it's called Softr, Softr, I believe. And then there's another one I've played with sometimes. It's called Backendless, which is kind of built more for, again, backend, like, scaling and kind of building big things. But those are really more for building SaaS, or like I have a specific cool little idea of like this little AI app I want to build, or a real estate market app, or like different things like that, where something like a Good Barber, a Buildfire, those types of things that are more template focused are not going to be a better fit. So I would look into those types of solutions. And those platforms even have templates to start with too. Bubble has, I think, over 1,000 templates. I've built apps off of templates on there too. So yeah, I would probably venture down that path before going down the other, other solutions. So it can be, but that's what I was saying again, is a lot of those platforms also kind of have templates that are already built. So, like, for example, there was one I built where we built an entire knowledge base / customer support, frequently asked questions thing entirely off of a Bubble template. I just slapped a new skin on it, changed the colors, changed the fonts, and then boom, off we went. So that's it, because those have a lot more complex workflows and database things and things like that. So yeah, I would look into, for somebody like that has some kind of an idea, think about, something like a Bubble or a Adalo or, that type of stuff, just because it's a lot more flexible. It's almost like building custom software, but it still definitely has a bigger learning curve. I will say that it definitely has.
So there could be a general perception that these low code may have some restrictions. Did you felt it while you were working on it, or it can meet any SaaS niche specific product requirement?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I mean that is kind of what happened with me, right? There was you get into these templatized ones where they're more simple, they're whatever, and then you want to, well, hey, I want to build this cool new feature in my app, and it's like, well, it's not really built to do that, So that's one way it can be limited. And then I will say, even if you're building in the more complex ones like Bubble and Adalo and that type of stuff, a lot of them kind of have pre-built components. So you can, it's like kind of building like with WordPress or Wix or something where you can like, hey, add like a blog post in here or like certain things like that. So those can be very, very good, as I'm learning now with one of my clients. Like they can have a lot of bugs, and you can be like, oh, it has this great feature, but then the guy that built it didn't really do a very good job at it. And then you're kind of like, oh, that's. I know a lot of some of the restrictions, some things to think about too is, sometimes you can have trouble, or some have had trouble in the past when they scale up to large user bases. Just, the performance can be a little affected and things like that. That's usually not a problem until it's a good problem to have when you have that many people.
Yeah, it's a good problem. You're making money. Yeah. Right.
And then another thing too is just to keep in mind is a lot of the no code stuff, you don't really end up getting full access. So like, let's say I want to take that app and go build it custom or have someone else build it. There's not a lot of platforms out there that let you extract that code. So that can be a game changer for people because it's like, well, I don't really own this thing. You know what I mean? So that's one thing to think about. There are some out there that do it, and a lot of them are starting to realize that that's a big thing. So I feel like in the future, they're going to change that. But those can just be some of the limitations of it. And then, obviously, like you can do a lot of custom things. You really can.
And did you find some open source, some quite good open source or no?
What do you mean? Like for
open source mean no licensing or something I need to pay to and I can use
host
technology.
To host everything?
Yeah, host is fine, but as a technology I don't need to pay to someone. And then I can use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And now, based on your experience, how you see these small players market or niche areas where people trying to build, they have some idea and they build it. Is it a scalable, is it a sustainable business model that they can make money out of it? How do you see while working with different customers?
I mean, I think so. It always depends on the idea, I guess. That's I was doing an interview the other day, and almost every question was answered with like, "It depends." That's kind of the way it goes sometimes. But no, I mean, if you have the right business model, I think there's definitely, if you're solving a real problem for real people, that's validated. Like, yeah, of course, it can be a good business model. But it depends on the messaging. It depends on the marketing and how you actually present that tool. Because that's, ultimately, I think you can have not as great of a tool, and this applies to building things custom too. You can have not as great of a tool, but market it like crazy, and it could still do really well than if you take 5 years to develop the perfect thing, and then you can't explain it or sell it right. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, there's different things popping up. Just it's almost like the old saying, there's an app for that. It's almost like there's SaaS for that these days. Like there's so many different niche things, but that's also the thing is it doesn't have to be, $1 million a month SaaS in order to be successul. Maybe you're someone who just wants to make a couple $1,000s a month with it or something like that.
True.
But if you only charge people a couple of months, or a couple of bucks per month to use it, yeah, you might have trouble making that sustainable. But if you charge, $50 a month, $100 a month, something like that, and you have a handful of users, okay, it's a little sustainable side thing that maintains itself,
And you mentioned one point, validation. Are you seeing this challenge that people aren't validating, or what tips you can maybe offer?
Yeah, no, there's a lot we could talk about with that. I think that people overcomplicate it, I think, a lot. Like if you just ask people, I think like, God forbid we just like talk to people around like, hey, would this thing be cool, or would you pay for this? Or we tried, I was part of a program one time where they built like a landing page with like the, hey, download now or buy now or whatever it was. And when they clicked it, it would go to a 404 page. By design, like that's how they designed it. And the whole point of it was you could go back and look at analytics and you could say, okay, 100 people hit this page and then 20 people clicked, and they were looking for that threshold. And that didn't really sit well with me, because I was like, I mean, it's not like it's deceptive. It just shows that it's like broken. But yeah, it's a form of validation that they're like clicking that, but like it could also be like bots or like, it could be just somebody screwing around, just like, oh yeah, I'll just click it. We're like, with no intention of buying it or just seeing it or whatever. So I think there's probably multiple ways of validating things like that. You could do something like a landing page. I've done one really cool thing we do is wait lists. We'll actually set up a landing page before the app's even built or anything's even built. We'll just say, hey, here's what's coming. We'll have some cool different screenshots or even just some copy of like, hey, this is what it's going to do. And then sign up for the wait list. And it's just a pop up with their name and their email and see how many people sign up. We've had people build a list of hundreds of people ready to, it doesn't mean that you add a list of 500 people, they're going to buy your thing right away. But that's a really cool way to do it too, is, because it builds a little bit of buzz, a little anticipation of those types of things. So there's a lot of different methods of validation out there.
And then when we started conversation, you touched one important point that you learned how to market and all that. And that's some major work rather than developing it. So any tips you can offer to the audience if someone is building it, what he should be doing or following up?
Yeah, it's a whole different game when you get into that realm. But I think they're linked because, I think the one thing that I've learned is the simpler you can keep your product, your software product, the better. It just makes it easier to explain things, to show things. We're, as humans, we do have short attention spans nowadays. You know what I mean? So if like you can go into something and you're trying to solve your problem and you're clicking around, you can't figure it out, you don't know what to do, you're probably going to abandon the thing. You're never going to go back, So the experience and the design is actually tied into the marketing because you want to keep it simple. You want to keep it, very like, okay, here's the thing. Keep, the human eye loves white space. Keep things simple, keep things clean. But then I also see a lot of people that make the mistake of just, and you hear this in marketing speak a lot, of just talking about the features of like, oh my gosh, this new software we built and integrates with all this AI and it does this cool thing, whatever. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares. You have to talk about the benefits. You have to always be talking about, hey, look, this thing will help you, streamline and save 2 hours of your day every single day. Oh, okay. Now that sounds more attractive to me than of like, oh, this has this little cool thing. So benefits.
Got it. So maybe towards concluding our session, so you mentioned you're working something big. So is it in the stage where you want to share something, or it's just when you want to, in 2024, you're building it up? Are you still in early phase?
No, it's not really early phase. I'm kind of in the getting ready to launch phase of it, to be honest.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'll share. It's kind of interesting. So, it is going to be a marketplace in the world of taxidermy.
World of
taxidermy.
Okay.
Like, I don't have any in here, but like, when you shoot an animal or something and you get it like mounted, you see those mounts in stores and things like that. My dad does that. And it kind of sparked this idea of, well, you see a lot of people online that don't have really good websites in that niche, or they don't really even have an online presence at all. And it's hard to find, quality people. And you just bagged like the trophy of your lifetime. And I've seen people take it and then they come back and it's ruined because the guy didn't know what they were doing or things like that. So we're getting ready to put together this marketplace that's going to actually allow people to list themselves, have professional online presences, connect with people who are looking for that, and hopefully grow their taxidermy businesses. So that's coming 2024, early 2024. So I'm pretty excited. It's the first one I've really gotten serious about launching and doing on my own quite a while. So yeah, I'm excited about it. It'll be really fun.
And it's wish you good luck. And it's again built on no low code.
Yeah, and again, like something like that. It's a very niche thing. But when you really think about, okay, we have the business model behind it to get listed onto there, and then we're going to offer different services to taxidermists and all that other stuff. Like there's millions of dollars. You know what I mean? So, and it's a very, very small market, but it's also, it could be very wildly successful if we really do it right. So we'll be interested to see how it goes.
All right. All right. So thank you so much for joining. And if someone want to reach out to you, where they should be reaching out, any personal website or business website or anything?
Yep. You can go to dappermobileapps.com, DAPPER, and then apps with an S at the end, dappermobileapps.com. You can see some of the work I've done there and book an appointment or whatever you need to do there. So yeah, that's where I would check it out.
Thank you so much, Dan, for joining OpenTechTalks.tv. And I liked the way you explained it primarily from a low-code point of view. And then you don't need to wait that, okay, I will hire someone and from on the Upwork or Fiverr, and then you spend a lot of amount on it, and then you go to market. You use simply software and then build it and then go. And then work on actually your model.
Yep.
How you're going to
it's
sell
great for MVPs, minimum viable products, just like that. Like speed wins in business, speed wins in this world. So don't hesitate, man. That's what I always tell people when I sign off on these is like, don't let an idea go to waste. You can build these things, you can launch these things, and you never know. Like this whole idea that I'm launching, it was just an idea.
True.
Then I was just like, let's build it. Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
True. Right. I got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome. It's good conversation.
Thanks for listening to the O Tech Talks podcast and be part of Tech Talks at otechtalks.tv. It's a turf to share ideas, insights, and innovations.